Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
When you say you guys play simple, have you gone positionless? Are you
been positionless for years. Yeah, dribble drive, loved it. Loved the 4-out 1-in feel to it. But at McKinney, we had a 6'4" guy that when we got to the elbow, if we threw it up to the corner of the backboard, he could just get up and go. And he also had a mid-range. So when I got to McKinney, when I got to Faith, I just took dribble drive and put it right there. But then really got tired of trying to attack the world or the paint, but always having a constant defender there. And I would love to see the dumps sometimes, but I thought, the same way that I don't like rim running, because I feel like rim running only looks good in 5-on-0 when you pass it ahead and he scores a layup. But if you really look back over your games, how many times does the rim run pay off? If anything, that dude runs the middle of the floor. He drags his defender with him. You could argue that maybe he pulls a corner defender in and you can up it for a three. I don't know, but I just don't see the payoff there. And so I wanted to get away from that. And so I thought, what does dribble drive look like with five out? And I found Mark Cassio's stuff, which is Doug Novak's stuff. And you take your dribble drive spots, which is you've got your two guards and then your two wings. Well, where's this guy? Like or your two corner spots, that's the stretch. So you take the dunker spot out and you get to the stretch. Well, we don't care who is in what spot. We just call them dangerous spots. On our floor, those are dangerous spots, corners, alleys, and then one stretch. So you got 5 players. Fellas, there's 6 spots that have to be filled. When the ball goes through, the closest guy gets it out of the net. The next closest guy is our playmaker for that possession. What you got to figure out at the beginning of the year is who's not a point guard. Even though we don't use the term point guard, they all know what that means. It's the guy that wants to bring the ball up the floor and initiate offense. Yeah. So you got to ask your group, guys, raise your hand if you don't want to be a point guard. And those dudes that do, they're typically bigger, but we've had 6'5" guys that can handle it. So I'm not going to say you can't. If anything, 6'5" defenders typically suck at guarding the ball. So right. Let's get them out from where they're used to guarding and do something different. Once we establish who's not the point guard, then they can't inbound it, nor can they grab it. So they've got to go. We fill corners first. After corners are filled, because those are the most dangerous spots on the floor, then we fill a stretch. And we've got our alleys. And then it's very simple action off of that. Our goal is to get
point guard and your point guard and your trigger are filling the 2 alleys every time, the inbounder.
Well, yeah, but not necessarily the same guys every time.
Right, but those 2 are in those alleys.
Inbounder and initial playmaker are alleys.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The corners are set. The odd man out fills a stretch. I don't care if he fills stretch on ball side. I don't care if he fills stretch opposite. If he fills stretch on ball side, it's like the shortstop. It's the cutoff man. Instead of maybe upping it to the corner straight, I can make a straight pass to him. What I've seen from a guy catching from the stretch is he can one more to the corner for a 3, or he can attack the world. And in transition, attacking the world from the stretch is great because they usually have a defender that's sitting in the paint, but he's also responsible for that deep corner. So you can finish it or you can spray it for an open 3 really early with the alley filling on that side, that if he doesn't like it, he can hero pass one more out for either a shot or a continuous drive. So offense to us, our flow is when leather touches fingertips. We're not running different offenses, a primary, a secondary into a continuity. We are playing offense. and flow starts as soon as leather touches. What that means is that they can't have any indecision or what are we in? You know what you're in. We're on offense, we're flowing. And the only thing I yell is we're flowing too slow. We're moving too slow. But like there is no look over at me and what to run. Once we do establish those spots, going back to if the stretch is opposite, what's really fun about that is if the playmaker is one of our most dynamic players, which you know what, it's like Jordan Peterson said, like with hierarchies develop. Your best shooters tend to find those open spots where they're because the danger with being positionless or playing a free flowing system is that you and I don't know where shots are coming from. But you know what? When I look over the score sheet at the end, they are typically coming from the right people. And especially if we're training correctly, which in my opinion means we're doing shooting games every day. Charting doesn't mean you're writing stuff down, but charting and role identification is, hey, we just played Ray Allen. How many ladders did you get? One or more, raise your hand. Oh, that's awesome. All right, two or more. Little Timmy drops it down. And little Timmy starts to see that dude and that dude are always getting two or more. That's role identification. We should be doing that. Shot selection is day one. Day one. Before culture. I think shot selection is your culture. Yeah. You show me a coach that says, quit taking bad shots. I say that's a negative culture, in my opinion. That's a culture that's going to limit creativity, a culture that's going to take away confidence. But
so what would you say instead? You're saying there are no bad shots? You're not saying that.
Well, okay, man. You're doing something that no one's ever done. You've opened it. You've opened the door. Shot selection day one. The best thing, if somebody was to ask me, what's the best thing I've borrowed? I would say shot selection scale from PGC. It has transformed our culture, the way that I talk to players, the way we handle the most personal thing in the game. Ask them, what's a 10? And you'll get 4 or 5 different options or answers. You know, like, a dunk, a layup, a free throw, an open shot. So they don't even know what the best shot is. We don't know. And if you say as a coach, hey, only good shots now, you got 5 dudes thinking that's different things. And so we got to know there's no such thing as a 10, and we all missed open layups. Okay, what's a 9? A 9 is a wide open layup. And guys, we love 9s. 9s, we'll hunt for 9s. We will take every 9 that we get. The more 9s that we get, the better off we are, the more we score. So we love 9s. We'll skip 8s for a second. We'll go to 7s. 7s are wide open jump shots within their range. That within their range part is where coaching comes in. Because if you just say what your range is, well, little Timmy says, man, volleyball line. You know, but we've got to show them through shooting games. We don't tell them what their range is. We show them what their range is. And the way we show that is by creative shooting games. And there are hundreds. I have favorites, but there are hundreds that over time, they start to know what my open shot is and what maybe his better shot is. Or when guys shoot from what we would call level 7 or 8 on our ladders, you know, from the basket, which level 6 is a open 3 at the high school level. Level 7 would be a college 3. Level 8 would be NBA 3s. When we have dudes shooting 7s and 8s, they are from this level 7 and 8, they are 7s for us because they've established they can do that in shooting games. And it's not guessing. It's not what they did during the summer. It's not what their dad said they did outside their driveway when the sun's shining and there's no wind and they feel great. Like it's established through months and months of our shooting games. And that's where you get less people saying, well, how come he gets to shoot that? Come on. You know why, little Timmy. We do these shots games every day. You establish shot selection and who can do what. Man, that alleviates so many problems, especially in a free-flowing system where I'm not pulling the strings over who shoots and what. If you were going to run sets where only 2 people play, you don't have to worry about shot selection because the screeners are going to screen, the dudes that can only pass are going to pass, and the guys that only shoot, they're the only ones that you got to work on their skill and their shot. But if you want everybody to be able to do everything like in a 5-out flow, man, the way we train, and I like to think about this, like I want to train my worst players as if they're our best players. That doesn't mean that I hold back with my best players. I train my best players and I get my worst players to try to do what they're doing. And so everybody's growing. But the 7 is something that we have to help our players know and establish. And I'll tell them we love 7s. But Coach, you said we love 9s. Absolutely. We love open layups and we love open shots. So who's the most dangerous person on the floor? The open one. Where's the ball need to get to? The open one. That's like a mind shift when you start to play 5-on-2, 5-on-3, 5-on-4 offensively. Because I've seen, Coach, they can't find the open guy. They're right there in front. And we've as coaches have gone, he's right there. He's right there. It's not that they're selfish. They don't see it. Yeah. And maybe it's a skill component with putting the ball on the ground, but it's more vision. It's more understanding that the ball has energy and it has to flow to the open guys because they can make better decisions. But if nobody's more dangerous, going back to what, if the stretch is on the left side, if the stretch is on the left side and a dynamic playmaker has the ball on the right, I've opened a double gap with a guy in the corner and the guy in the right alley, a double gap, Coach, off of 0 passes. Most plays are meant to create space for your best playmakers. We've done it off of nothing. And it's a transitioning defense where maybe they're not very organized. They have the wrong dudes guarding the wrong players. And we can exploit that. So if that opening, the open player has to receive it, we'll up it to a more dangerous player. If that's not there, you attack that double gap. And they all have to be able to do that. If they can't, they better be able to add value in other areas. Maybe they are a great defender. Maybe they do rebound really well. They guard hard. Okay, if that's the case, attack that gap. You don't like it, move it, cut, and create an opportunity for somebody else. But going back to shot selection, the 7s and 9s are what we're hunting for, and we're okay with 8s. 8s are contested layups. 8s comes down to skill work. If we train correctly off of 2 feet off of stride stops and we give them tools like rondos, tools like Arams or Brunsons, where we stride stop but we keep our dribble alive and we attack again in our 5-out flow, we'll take those 8s. 8s you can get fouled on. We can get their best player or one of their bigs in foul trouble. You can still do things with 8s, but there's a degree of difficulty there. An 8 will quickly become a 5 if they go off of 1 foot at the wrong time. If they try to, it's not figure skating, right? We get the same amount of points for something simple and something hard. And so we'll try to keep it simple, but we love 8s too. 8s are typically those players that can demonstrate control. And control is the number one playmaker commandment is thou shalt be under control. People think when you start to play super fast that you've lost control. No, I just think you have to teach them how to play fast under control, because you and I right now in our 40s can play slow and in control. That's not special. A lot of players play fast and out of control. That's not special. Slow and in control. That's what's unique. And you know what, Coach? That takes time. And me and Joe Crispin talked about it yesterday. You have to be okay with ugly, fast, nasty basketball until he says fast becomes normal. Once fast becomes normal, you see turnovers go down and shot selection go up, or shot percentage go up. But just like what we said, we want to prepare for failure. I let parents know at the beginning of every year, early on, turnovers are going to be super high. Don't worry about that. Shot percentage super low. We're going to shoot a ton of threes and rarely are they going to go in. And by saying that, I let them off the hook. I let my players off the hook. I let myself off the hook. This is expected. Oh, they made more? Great. What a great surprise. But we're not going to worry about that. We know that in December, it's all going to even out. Here's what loses games. So defense doesn't win championships, and shot selection is the reason why we lose games that are 8 points or less. Shot selection. Because you ask your players, raise your hand if you've ever taken a bad shot before or lost by 8 or less. They all raise their hand. And I just say that's one bad shot, and I use the word bad, one bad shot in every quarter. The bad shots are the ones that we do have our control over, but we got to know what bad is, because what's the difference between bad and good and great and so-so and not right now, but later? Like, those are all vague terms that we use that to me are confusing. So the 2 shots that lose us games are 5s and 6s. Sixes are contested jump shots. When we take a six, we have to find out why. Instead of that's a six, that's a bad shot, we assume selfishness. I think the question method really helps with this, and that's where the scale doesn't rip away their confidence. It enables them to get to the root of why we took the six and what's a better option. So, Timmy, rate that shot. It was probably a six. Yeah, Timmy, I agree. Like, that's a six. That hand was out. And here's the fun thing, Coach. You know this from being a great player. The faster your preparation is with your feet, the quicker your hands are on the ball, and the more prepared you are to shoot, the quicker you can get out of your hands. Sixes and sevens start to blur to where, man, it may appear in live time that that's a six, but you pause film, that ball is out of his hands before that closeout extends. Dudes, that's a seven. But that's where we teach speed with our shot, not form, speed, because speed will clean up form. Speed will allow you to shoot more shots in games. And going back to sixes, when you ask him, it's a six. All right, why do we shoot that six? Well, I just thought maybe this or that. And a lot of answers will come out. What could you do different? Well, either I could fight for my feet quicker to be there fast, or, man, if he's out of control, I can attack that gap. I can lift and I can try to attack, or I can one more. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right on the money. Let's be more patient and not stress about sixes, fight and look for sevens, hunt sevens, and then make that ball work. It was a disarming conversation that didn't say that he's a dumb, selfish player for taking bad shots, that empowered him to make a better choice, but shoot that thing again if he is open. And then fives are 50-50 shots. We don't, if you wouldn't put $100 on it, if you wouldn't, like I tell guys jokingly, my five is a layup now. Like that's the only thing I think I would bet on. But step backs, I hate floaters, I hate Euros, like all of those that skill trainers and I like fancy stuff and I like creative stuff and skill work. I'm a Micah Lancaster disciple in a way, where I believe in accountability tools and the way that they can get players lower, quicker, more dynamic without me having to watch them constantly. But all of those shots are super hard. Like Trae Young in the NBA needs a floater because he's small and those dudes are huge. At 5'8" taps, we don't need a floater. And most likely even at the college level, you don't need a floater. If you're shooting those, or if your offense is creating step back floater opportunities, in my opinion, we need another offense. We need something that creates stride stop finishes, opportunities to Brunson, and kick out threes. Sometimes off the kick out threes, if you're skilled enough, you can lift, sidestep, and still shoot it, and that be a seven. But fives get us beat. Threes and fours are third and fourth grade shots. And we don't have those players here at Faith. And that's what you say to wherever you are. And we don't go below that. But when I call timeout after we've shot 10 threes in a row, if they're all sevens, I don't say a word about that. We shoot the next one. And they know that because the expectation is we're about to get hot. Shoot to get hot, shoot to stay hot. Like that's culture. But if I feel like we're shooting a lot of fives and sixes, timeout, hey fellas, listen, like, what do you think about our shot selection the last few possessions? Coach, a lot of sixes. Man, I don't know if we need to do that. I think if you guys trust it a little bit more, play with a good pace, make that ball work, cut hard, attack the world, and then really make the right read off of that. Like I think we can get more sevens, eights, and nines. Right now, fellas, like fives and sixes, that's why we are where we are. You just got to know that right now. I think that those types of conversations, man, like you want dudes shooting with courage. One of my favorite things that a parent came up to me after games, like she said that, like, you guys all shoot like with courage, like they don't think they're gonna miss. I'm like, absolutely, ma'am. Like that's just how we train. That's how we do. And then being okay with losing with that mentality. Like I think you have to choose a style of play that you're okay to lose in. And I'm okay losing in that. Joe Crispin talked about we need to know that what our constraints are as coaches. We need our players to know their constraints, but we need to know our constraints. I don't want to watch boring basketball. I don't want to coach boring basketball. And that's a constraint of mine. So what means is because of my thought process there, we may lose a game where walking the ball up the floor and holding it for 2 minutes or running long possessions, running a set every time might have been the smarter thing to do. We might have won that game, but that's a constraint that I have. Coach, that was 14 minutes.
Nice.
Oh, I apologize because this is about
questions.
you. This is about you.
2 follow-up questions. What's an Armand or an Armand? You mentioned the Brunson and the Rondo. What's an Armand?
Brunson and Armand.
You said I thought I heard a third term in there. You said
Rondo.
Yeah, you said a Rondo off a stride stop. I'm assuming that's kind of the fake.
Aram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Aram. Air them. It's a PGC term. It's not a shot fake in the paint. You know, a shot fake or a lift is on the perimeter, but we don't shot fake in the paint. It's not our shot. It's a layup. It's something different. So an aram is 3 keys: knees loaded, okay, ball to chin, eyes to rim. So with our knees loaded, we do a 1 Mississippi aram where the ball and my chin and my eyes all go up for 1 Mississippi, but I stay powerful. I stay loaded. The aram to me is one of the best ways to show cleverness, to show control.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.